Well, howdy, y'all. Welcome to AV Smackdown, the bi-coastal tech talk. I am Luke Jordan with Electro Acoustics out of Fort Worth, Texas. Today, I'm going to be joined by your familiar contestants. We've got from the West Coast, Mark Coxon. Mark, how you doing?
I am doing well. Good morning.
Glad to have you here. And over on the East Coast today, you guys know him, you love him, Chris Netto. Chris, how you doing?
I'm doing well, man. Finally, we get surprised with the guest who actually sits in between me and Mark geographically. Kind of. Sort of. Yeah. Well, yeah. Let's go with it. What do you got?
Well, I'm in Texas, and y'all are somewhere else.
Can we just interject real quick? You know, having Luke on the show for the first time, can we just point out that this guy's a multiple AV award winner? I mean, CI 40 under 40, the SCN 9, two-time Infocom award. Dude, we're getting some top talent coming and sitting in between us there, Mark. We need to step up our game. That's basically what I'm saying.
Yeah, you forgot AV bull riding.
Yes, the PBR national AV PBR national champion right there.
I've peaked early in my career, and the next decade is going to be lonely and sad.
Get your country songs ready. Luke Jordan is going to put out an album.
Oh, I hope not. So today we're going to talk about culture. So something I hear from a lot of integrators is how hard it is to find good people, train them to keep up with the growing demand, because AV is growing. But where do we find the people for that? And how do you protect your culture? Is culture important? So my first question for you guys, and Mark, I'm going to have you kick us off. How do you define culture, and what role does it play within an organization?
Wow, very formal question. I love it. No, I think, for me, culture is the, not only the look, but the feel of the company. And anytime I'm looking for a job, actually, one of the top three things I look for is culture. And I always say there are 3 C's to any job, and that's the challenge, because I think a job has to be challenging every day for me to be interested in it. There's the compensation because I have kids to feed, and then there's the culture. And for me, culture has always been just as an important of a part. Building a company culture is very difficult. And I think a lot of times, because we all have our individual goals and things we need to achieve in order to be doing our job, many times companies don't do a great job at fostering a culture where they create a full team. And I think we see that in integration sometimes where, I used to see it from the sales perspective. I'll sell something. Install likes to do things like an older product that I didn't sell in this job. And then when they get to site, they tell the customer, I don't know why this was sold. We should have done this. And now the customer's wondering what I was trying to do. Was I boosting my commission and giving them a story? And we have this kind of infighting within our own companies sometimes. And so culture is a hugely important thing, I think, when it comes to making sure that we all are focused on the end goal. What's the mission of the company? Is our company to make that customer happy? Is it to provide better communication? Is it to provide entertainment? Is it to provide a wow factor or show? And then if we can all align in that way and say, hey, look, we all have this common goal. We all have the parts that we have to play in it. And if we don't work well together, it's never going to get there. You need people that have that mindset. You need people that have that in-game, end result mindset in order to build I guess a good company culture that people don't have that infighting and finger pointing and back and forth. And it's hard. I've worked places that do it well, and I've worked places that don't do it so well.
I think having a good culture, apart from the amenities, really is what is driving healthy development of people, talent, and cohesiveness. Netto, your thoughts?
Well, it's funny that you went right to the amenities and pointed out that you're a millennial sitting in between 2, I guess, Gen Xers who are trying to get a handle on what's going on. Mark's younger than me, so he sort of fades between the two. It's funny because with the minute you said the benefits, you start talking about the stuff that you would have at the offices, right? The frappuccinos and stuff like that. I work and live in the New York, New Jersey area. Right, a company that was famous for the the perks like that, was Bloomberg, right? It was, you went, you got lunch, you got snacks, you got whatever, but it was to make you comfortable because you were going to sit there all day, right? That developed into other companies adopting that style, right? I don't necessarily think those perks are what is going to attract the young people. I think that nowadays, hierarchy, statues of how the businesses are run affect that. It needs to be open and inclusive. If you come into a place that preaches, you know, hey, we allow you to voice your opinion, and you get there within the first month, you're sitting in the back of the meeting room and you have absolutely zero say. You were just lied to, right? Now you feel it, and now you're looking for a way out. You know, I think that, you know, as the generations change and as the, you know, that hierarchy starts to shift, right? To understand that somebody who is 20 something can be a leader within an organization is a bit of a mind shift to the guy who has been, you know, grinding for the last, you know, 25, 30 years. You know, I remember one instance in particular where I was a project manager. I came in as a project manager to a company, and one of the senior techs could not understand how I was a project manager and he was not. So the challenge or the headbutt that came forward was, we're going to do it this way, trust your tech. And I'm like, no, we're not going to do it that way because that idea sucks. Essentially, what it was coming down to was, it wasn't me versus him on a generational basis. It was, he had an idea. He wanted to go out and get a trophy base to mount a camera because an existing tripod didn't exactly fit there was nothing made. So we had to get creative. And this was his idea. Well, I'm going to go get a trophy base. I'm like, dude, do not go home. Get your 1974, you know, Pee Wee League bowler champion that you were. Don't get that base. Don't bring it in. We're just going to go ahead and we're going to basically hack, you know, an existing home theater speaker stand, which was just flat black, cut it, and we're going to make it this way. And this is what's going to go. He went to go get his trophy base. I went to go get my speaker, showed it to the customer. The customer didn't even allow him to put it on top of the credenza. He's like, what are you thinking? Right? So it was a different mindset. From that point on, he was kind of defensive, but we had to work it out. So I sat with him and I said, listen, I didn't do this to challenge you. I did this because this is my responsibility to make this project move quicker, right? You couldn't let this go. I said, we're going to move with a project. So it's changing the mindset, changing the perception. We also, you know, as part of this culture, we need to do good things. Right? We need to be more involved and do good things. What do I mean by that? Part of your company's culture is where they're going with charity and, you know, volunteerism, stuff like that. I think that that's also a big part of the culture moving forward of the company. People want to be more involved. People do want to help other people, not necessarily just in the AV business.
What can dilute culture, either as a company grows and acquires other companies, and is trying to assimilate their values and their culture, or even just within maybe a small business, what actions can lead to issues with culture or hiring bad fits, and how do you deal with that? Me
personally, siloed organizations are the number one cultural issue problems, if that's the best way. If you are in a company that silos every little thing, and that I can't speak to so-and-so, and that I have to go through this, that, and the other thing to make it happen, I think that is one of the biggest problems, because the silos, unfortunately, takes you back to that high school mentality where now all of a sudden you start having cliques, right? And then the cliques are the, you know, this clique versus that clique, and the Jets versus the Sharks, and, you know, people start snapping their fingers and doing dances, whatever the case is. I think silos are one of the biggest problems within organizations. Mark, what's your thoughts on that? How do you like a nice, tightly organized, siloed company?
No, I would agree with that. I would say, you know, anything that doesn't make the organization flat to the individual who's trying to navigate it can be a huge, you know, detriment to the culture. I've seen companies that absorb other companies. And obviously we've had a lot of that in AV. And I think the biggest thing that dilutes the culture is when the company that does the conquering or the acquiring forgets why they bought the other company, or doesn't realize those strengths. And so, you know, many times what happens is they inject their culture into a system that wasn't built upon that. And all of a sudden those people feel like aliens in a different country. Right. And I think you know, that's the hardest part of merger and acquisition is integrating a team that was doing something really well. They were doing something awesome. That's why you bought them, right? That's why you brought them in. That's why you wanted them as part of your organization. So how do you pay homage, I guess, to that culture and find ways to build bridges between them, as opposed to just come in and place a king in their court, right? And so for me, that seems to be the biggest problem.
Hey, Luke, you are, I mean, me and Mark we've worked for some large companies, right? So we've been in and out of different size companies throughout our career. You've done a lot of time at a single company.
That's
and
right.
That single company has grown, and it is it wouldn't be a 100-person shop that you guys have, right? 200-person shop. How do you guys, how does the average integrator, you are not to say that you're average, but what does a traditional integrator, you know, see that? How do you see it? What's your point of view of that? Because we definitely have a different look upon things.
Well, sure. For us, it's definitely just very purposely done. So it starts with the ownership and leadership of the company deciding, you know, what's important. You know, culture and values is not something that you want to have in a few years from now. It's what currently defines the people that work for you. If you have a goal that we will value this in a few years, but several people that currently work for you don't value that, then you don't have that culture. And that's a wish list, but you have to deal with your culture in the present. It's a good thing to want to grow and develop and mature over time, but you still have to deal with the present here and now. These are the people on our team. And then you've got to be willing to hire and fire based off those values. So if someone doesn't fit, or even if the organization does, you know, take a turn and go a different direction, that's not a bad thing, but not everyone is going to be a good fit after that going forward. Not just that they don't deserve to work with you anymore, but it's not going to benefit them to be a part of an organization that they don't have a natural fit in. So releasing them into the wild to go find a job where they do have a better fit is only going to benefit them and their family and their career, but it's also going to open up a space in your company for someone that's going to be a great fit and help you get where you're going. That's really all the time we have right now. So we're going to go ahead and wrap up. Thank you for a great conversation. Chris, where can we find you?
You can find me at Chris_Netto on Twitter.
Yeah. Mark, where can we find you?
You can find me on the AV Smackdown channel. Come on, subscribe to the AV Smackdown channel and you'll see all the new episodes. But thanks for coming, Luke.
Yeah. And you can find me on Twitter at Luke Jordan, EAVI, or you can find our company at eavi.com. Go ahead and just right down here, go ahead and click that subscribe button. We'd love to have you guys follow us and see more Smackdown videos. Thank you.